Hello, my fellow readers. It's I, Dark Symphony 777, with another fan fiction reading. As always, a link to the story will be in the description below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, click on that bell for notifications, leave a comment in the comment section below on your thoughts of the story. And finally, this is my opinion. My opinion is not indicative of everyone in the world, so please respect that. So, the story I'm doing a reading of is Asymmetric Rendezvous by Genso Chronicle. It is a Touhou project fan fiction. And before I get into it, this story actually, I wasn't planning on originally reviewing the story, and not reviewing the story, reading the story, because I have a bunch. Look at all the stories. Look at all the stories. What happened was sometimes I do watch a bunch of Touhou related stuff, usually revolving around Junko because it's Junko. She's best Junko and or Mei Ling because they're both best girls. I sometimes get stuff in my feed related to other Touhou YouTubers, other Touhou projects, and randomly, out of the blue, in my feed, I had a commentary post by Genso Chronicle. He's actually a YouTuber who actually said he wrote this story. And I thought, I'm curious. So I decided I'm going to do a reading of the story and give my honest thoughts. This is totally not a cry for attention. This is not totally a please notice me senpai moment. Notice me senpai. I couldn't resist. But let's hope this story is pretty good for what it sounded like on the community post. His first fanfiction. Don't know if that's true. For all I know, could not. But let's hope so. To protect and serve is a statue's pride and joy. Oh, this story is talking about Aeon. Yeah, it's about Aeon. I said to myself, tail whipping around in excitement. Or I would have, but of course, I cannot talk, for I am a statue. January 1st, 2001, Shibuya, Tokyo. 2:43, 2:44, 2:45. The shrill voice of ceremonial wind instruments, accompanied by the drum, barely masked uncountable conversations being had all around. Lines of warmly dressed citizens extend past my vision, all funneling into a single entrance. Each one files neatly into one of a wide array. Jesus. Of lines that are naturally formed as they proceeded further in. 6,057, 6,058, 6,059. Parents prepare a coin for each child. Remember, 2 bows, 2 claps, 1 bow, they would say. To each side, the festivities are being had. Colorful drawings and well wishes. I'm tongue-tied today. I hung up for people to see. Guests love to crowd around them and look after giving a donation. Stall lines the perimeter of the shrine where food and drinks are being sold. Something about a nice hot drink probably goes well with the cold, early morning. After waiting so long in line, I don't think anyone can blame them. The wait can be anywhere from 3 to 4 hours, depending on the time of day. I would know. I counted. Meanwhile, guests line up to purchase colorful charms, trinkets, or stamped for their stamp books deeper in. Of course, my favorite part of the shrine is the large wall made of sake barrels that they have built. I always wondered if there was anything in them with so much to see and do. The lingering guests who have finished their visit alongside the visitors still in line form an auditory spectacle. It is the sound of happiness. The sound of my favorite day of the year. It is a day all sorts of people come to visit the shrines I spend every day protecting. 9,243, 9,244, 9,245. My favorite shrines to protect on this day are the big fancy ones surrounding by the really tall buildings that stretch all the way to the sky. At the smaller shrines, I can remember everyone that comes to visit. But here, all sorts of strangers come by every day. 83,490, 83,491. 83,492. Can you guess my absolute favorite thing to do? It's counting all the visitors that come to the shrine, of course. This time of year, it starts to get pretty chilly out. And yet, on this day, visitors will start pouring in even before the sun rises. Just thinking about it fills me with excitement. 1,064,681. 1,064,682. 1,064,083. I never lose track when I count, of course. I'm not really sure how long I've been counting visitors over the years, but it's been long enough to never, ever make mistakes. Ever. After all, knowing how many people come by on these days makes me the happiest. 1,593,506, 1,593,507, 1,593,508. Of course, I can't just stick to these big shrines every single day. Every shrine needs protecting, no matter how small, which is why tomorrow I'll be visiting all sorts of tiny shrines to make sure they are safe from evil. Once I had my fill of the celebrations and happy visitors, my departure for humbler surroundings began. All at once, my consciousness scattered in every direction. If there was a shrine or temple I could visit, visions of forests, buildings, the ocean, people, and myriad celebrations bled through my senses 1,000,000-fold. My goal was to find the one shrine that needed protecting the most. I'll be making an effort to do my best in making sure it is safe, even if it would be just for one day. January 2nd, 2001. When my mind finally settled into a singular destination, I knew right away I picked correctly. It was a destitute shrine, with not a single visitor, even though my favorite day was only yesterday. There were no street vendors, no enma hung up. There wasn't even someone waiting to give out the shrine stamp to a shrine goer on pilgrimage. As far as presentation was concerned, it was comfortably at the lower end of the scale. The grounds were isolated from any sort of civilization, with trees stretching off in every direction. What's more, I could sense traces of evil, probably, emanating all around. The shrine was clearly abandoned, just from the state of it. But it didn't matter to me. This shrine needed protecting all the same. Were I not a statue, I would be standing tall, facing outward, in the face of any evil that would dare enter. Though, I suppose I'm already doing that because I'm a statue. But while I was steadfast in my watch, something caught me off guard. Not long after taking my post, I heard the soft pattering of small feet against the shrine's dirt road. It wasn't from ahead, where I was ready to take on any hordes of ill intent seeking this poor little shrine. But as I shifted my vision backwards, the lone figure of a small girl stood. She sneezed, carrying a lantern that was just a bit too large and heavy for her. She slowly walked around the perimeter of the shrine. With every step, her tiny legs would bump into the lantern that hovered only a couple inches off the ground. Oh, that's tiny Remu. Oh, she needs hugs. Where's her mom? Where you need her? Where's Rumia? Where you need her? You need to give her hugs. Or wait, this is canon. Osana and Remu does not happen. Oh well. Her breath was visible only thanks to the last vestiges of light being cast from the setting sun. Her cheeks were red, and her eyes squinted as she walked around the shrine in the dark. It was then that I noticed her red and white outfit made it clear. She was a Miku of this desolate shrine. Or, at least, that was the intended impression of her clothing. The outfit itself looked to be an imitation of the proper attire. It was too dark to tell exactly what she was wearing. But even from a distance, it would be more accurate to say she was wearing a hodgepodge of different articles of clothing to match that of a shrine maiden's red and white aesthetic. It gave off the feeling of a child trying to dress up as a shrine maiden with whatever was lying around the house. Oh, half of me questioned whether this was mainly a game of dress up or simply the extent of what her wardrobe provided. I watched her slow patrol around the shrine, puzzled. Sure, she was preparing to go home, yes, and yet the small, shivering child disappeared behind the shrine. I watched in anticipation, hoping for her to emerge. I was worried. Night descended onto the shrine. Soon after, it was morning. Rather than guarding the shrine, it felt like I was just waiting to make sure the child was safe. January 3rd, 2001. Eventually, the child did come back out. With a stretch and a yawn, she checked the donation box, seemingly out of reflex. It was barely a glance, as if she knew the answer already. I watched her do morning stretches and all manner of strange things. After eating, she pulled out a goe that was shockingly reasonably sized for her. She then spent several minutes practicing different poses accompanied by permutations of threats and declarations of battle. She would say things like, "Out of my way, demon," or "I come to stop you," as she swung the goe around with a notable lack of control. No, really. Was she just here to play? Just from the line she was delivering with innocent gusto, it sounded like she was intending to fight all sorts of demons as a shrine maiden. There were some rather amusing attempts, actually. She accidentally threw her the goe when trying to point at an imaginary enemy and ran over in shock to make sure she didn't break it. She also bit her tongue 3 times when delivering her practice lines. I would know. I counted. In the midst of her heroic displays, I was also able to get a better look at her clothes, something I was still particularly concerned over. They were in poor condition, with some articles a bit too large for her. The white robe she wore was just that, a regular white robe. It lacked the iconic tome sleeves of traditional wear, and wasn't tucked into a red hakama underneath it. Not that she could, since she wasn't wearing a hakama either. It looked more like a old red skirt. The color was right, at least. Thankfully, her footwear was in decent condition. I would be seriously concerned otherwise, given how I could see her breath every time she repeated one of her lies. But as I scrutinized the young girl's attire, my appraisal of whoever was in charge of the shrine, the young girl continued to sink. I watched her antics with more interest than I was willing to admit, and lost track of time. When she finally tired herself out, it was already midday. Was she truly here all alone? About her parents. I was planning to return to one of the big shrines today, as there would still be huge lines of guests piling in. My absolute favorite thing to do is what I started to think, but that wasn't quite right. My favorite thing to do is my duty, and my duty is to protect. So I spent the second day watching over the destitute shrine, and this lone girl apparently called home. March 22nd, 2001. It became a habit of mine, checking on the girl and keeping her safe. I mean, just from a glance, she couldn't be much older than 10. Typical shrine duties were completed as her tiny body dragged a variety of tools made for someone twice her size around the shrine. At this point, I accepted that she was, in fact, the shrine's Miko. Luckily, in the 3 months since I became asymmetrically acquainted with the young girl, she had since received a proper set of clothes befitting a shrine maiden. Source? Unknown, at least to me, Yukari. While this was a relief, I was still bothered that this wasn't fixed sooner. Those earlier months can get quite cold, after all. Still, she seemed happy. Frankly, her emotions were always written on her face. It was happiness over a nice bit of weather, annoyance over a particularly empty donation box, focus when she was training, and so on. I noticed that she would train a lot, actually. For whatever reason, this girl could manage to hover in the air. If would only for a brief moment, though. Maybe those strange performances of hers that I watched every moment were more than just plain pretend. I couldn't be sure that what she was doing was with the hovering, but just from her expression, I could tell she wasn't getting the desired result. She would fall a lot. Her knees and hands would be covered in scrapes and dirt. She would sit on the ground, hugging her knees for a time, and just cry. You can do it, little shrine maiden, I would call out to her. Not that she could hear me, of course. Not that I cared, of course. I am a statue. I am perfectly content with protecting people. But all the same, I wanted her efforts to pay off. Now, aside from her morning theatrics, there was yet another part of her life that I loved to watch. July 7th, 2001. Someone else showed up at the shrine today. I couldn't be sure as I'm not always here, but they walked in like this was typical for them. It was another girl about the same age as Miko. She's a bit strange looking and has a big pointy hat, but they seem to be friends. The two of them sat on the veranda, sharing a frankly prepared set of tea and dango, as the sound of cicadas echoed out in the primal wilderness beyond the shrine. Contrary to her usual self, the Miko appeared to be more stoic, while the other girl did most of the talking. She would glance away when the strange girl looked over at her during one of her explanations. She would scoot slightly away if the other girl got too close. The little Miko was on edge. I watched them anxiously. Was his visitor actually a bother? But as I considered my surveillance, I used my and using my accumulated experience on Miko watching, I came to a more satisfying answer. There was nothing to worry about. She was just shy and not sure how to interact with her. That's so funny. Even if she wasn't saying much and keeping a poker face through it all. She was very cleverly listening to everything the other girl was saying. I was even blessed with witnessing her emotions leaking out as a result of some side comments from the visitor. The flustered Miko's facade was completely broken as the guests laughed. I could already tell that these two would become good friends. Were I not a statue, I would surely be smiling ear to ear. I'm glad the little Miku has at least one person she can talk to. Good for you, I said to her in spirit. January 1st, 2002. Kawasaka, Kanagawa. What's more, it is my favorite day of the year. This time, I chose a giant Buddhist temple to watch over. 5,637, 5,638, 5,639. As usual, I was thoroughly enjoying the sight of the massive crowd of visitors. Celebration and merriment permeated the temple as all sorts of strangers made their way to give their donations. As for me, my counting carried on. 5,640, 5,641, 5,642. Thinking about donations, actually, I wonder if that little Miko was going to get any. Surely she would, right? 5,903, 5,000, 5,904, 5,905. At the very least, she would get visitors, right? 7,698, 7,699, 7,700. Ah, there's that strange girl with the hat that always comes by. Maybe she would visit and leave a donation. I wonder if a kid like that has any money. Actually, well, even if she not, she would definitely come visit her friend, right? 7,701, 7,702, 7,703. And yet, I wonder, when 11,779. Huh. And then, for the first time since I could remember, I lost count of the visitors. January 1st, 2002, night. A sacred lot. I ended up coming here. Even though it's my favorite day, I ended up coming to this little shrine that has no visitors. And yet, looking over at the veranda that I've become all too familiar with, I saw those two girls chatting away happily while bundled up in winter wear. They were even sharing a large scarf wrapped around both of them. Their talks have slowly become less lopsided over the past few months. Rather than one-sided remarks, there was a playful back and forth, rather than a flustered Miko who was unable to interact with someone. There was lively banter, only shared by two girls, smiling underneath the moonlight sky. Maybe all she needed was someone to talk to. A painful thought came to me as I realized, if only I stopped myself before finishing that thought. There was no use thinking like that. Instead, I pushed away my negative thoughts and chose to indulge the scene before me. I watched the two of them comfortably pass time together under that wintry night sky. This was where I needed to be. I was sure of that now. I was a bit dejected over losing track of the visitors early today, but the scene before me was precious, more so than any day I could remember. Happy New Year, little shrine maiden, I said to her in my heart. Even if I was the only one aware of it, I was happy to witness the beauty of the full moon with you. August 5th, 2002. You know, if I had to be honest, I was starting to get concerned with the little shrine maiden here. She used to be so diligent with her training, and yet now all she does is lay around on the veranda. Started with her forgetting the train every once in a while, nothing serious, but then it became deliberate. She would get ready to make an attempt, only to change her mind as she got in position. The training that she used to diligently undertake every day soon spread further and further apart. And even on the rare occasion she was motivated, she would only try for an hour or so before getting bored and fetching a snack. What are you doing? Is what I wanted to say. Yet today, I saw the little shrine maiden take flight. She didn't merely float and drift back down. She flew off into the sky. And the little shrine maiden who wears our heart on her sleeve did so without a hint of jubilation. The best way I can describe her at the moment was at peace. That was all I can grasp with my gaze fixed upon her face, unwavering. Any desire to chastise her melted away as soon her figure breached the skyline and escaped my vision. I was completely dazzled, starstruck. But above all, I was proud. August 12th, 2002. More guests came to the shrine today. I was a bit worried about the prospective visitors lately, since there was a nasty fog that only cleared up recently. It must have been bad because as soon as it was gone, the first two-time visitors arrived. It was a young girl and her maid. They definitely had a different vibe from the little shrine maiden and her friend. Off topic, I'm pretty sure if we're going by the dates that that the games take place at the same time the games come out, wouldn't it be 2003? Oh, hold on. I want to check. I want to check something. No, I just checked. It was 2002. I thought it was 2003 for some reason. Brr. Yeah, my mom must have been elsewhere. Okay, so all right. That's my bad. I thought, okay. So, all right. The young girl remained under a parasol for the duration of her visit, and looked to be rather pale. Perhaps she was sickly. Considering that, I once more reinforced my efforts to keep the shrine safe. This was something I had to shamefully admit I was slacking on, as most of my time was spent watching little Miko and her antics. But now the shrine is getting visitors. These visitors were pale and sickly like that girl. I needed to be absolutely sure that nothing evil would pass by me. Thinking about that now, I wasn't actually sure what evil looked like. That worry was quickly discarded, however, after all, I'll surely know evil when it does show up. She's becoming stupid. No, hang on. Don't lose your common sense. Don't be like Sine. With renewed vigor, I guarded the shrine for the sake of the little shrine maiden and all her friends. Though, I couldn't help but watch the little Miko and her visitors. Unsurprisingly, she wasn't too keen on being friendly with her guests. They didn't seem to be here to visit the shrine. They went straight to our resident shrine maiden without so much as a bow at the Touhou gate. I was willing to overlook that, of course, as they seemed foreign. Foreigners tend to be ignorant of these things, unfortunately. The sickly girl immediately began pestering the young Miko, albeit much more assertively than the Miko's friend used to when they were as closed. It started with simple invasions and reclamations of personal space that quickly escalated to more skinship than the little Miko was accustomed to. Her assailant was clearly ignoring the warning signs, however. She eventually crossed the line when she tried wrapping her arms around the Miko's shoulders from behind and ended up in a headlock. The others were surprisingly fine with the young girl being handled roughly like that. Maybe it was fine? If I had to describe dealing with the little Miko, I would say she's similar to a cat that prefers to be left alone. She'll tolerate your presence and even silently welcome it at a distance. But being overly friendly or forward is an easy ticket to being scratched. That isn't to say she was simply unfriendly. If the sickly girl started visiting regularly, the little Miko would surely warm up to her as well. That's the sort of person she was. Slowly but surely, this distant little lot was becoming just a bit lively. March 13th, 2004. When I first saw it happen, I accepted it for what it was. That little Miko had already shown she was capable of flying in the air. So who was I to question anything else that happened? By it, I was referring to the magical duels the shrine maiden often had with her friends that came by to visit. They would each fly up into the air and shoot all sorts of colorful projectiles at each other. Over the years, I was able to witness all sorts of interesting patterns and color combinations as different pairs flew up into the air and dueled it out. Of course, my favorite person to watch was the little Miko. The way she flew around so gracefully was, to put it best, otherworldly. I didn't want to admit it, but every time she went to duel someone, I was shamelessly rooting for her. I watched projectiles graze the ribbon in her hair. I watched her change direction in an instant, ignoring her perceived momentum. Or I would simply see her dodge in ways I thought would be impossible. Her movements fascinated me. Though, I had to wonder, how do they come up with those patterns? I began to consider what sort of patterns I might want to use if I was to participate in one of those duels. Not that it mattered. November 20th, 2005. Today I learned that the Miko's name is Rimu! Though perhaps I should stop calling her little Miko. She's certainly grown a bit over the years. Now she looks like a proper shrine maiden. A couple years ago, likely while she was growing, she shrouded out her shrine maiden outfit for something a bit more flashy. While the color scheme remains the same, it bears little resemblance to the traditional Miko attire. The shrine enthusiast in me felt conflicted to say that, but if I had to be honest, I was giving it a pass. The reason? She looked rather dashing in it. Stylish, yet elegant. It wasn't a proper, accepted standard uniform, but I was willing to compromise on it having the right colors and some key features. The most notable difference was the addition of a sleeveless red top over the usual white robe. The tome sleeves are still there, but detached. Likewise, she once more isn't wearing a red hakama, but a red skirt, albeit one with tasteful white embroidery and frills. I began to wonder if she originally wasn't wearing a hakama back when she was a child because she didn't like it. It was hard to say. Every once in a while, Rimu would get a little creative with the outfit too. Sometimes I come to notice she was wearing a different color ribbon. Other times, I noticed she had new shoes. Of course, some of it may have been responsible to the seasons. One thing I know haven't decided is what length I prefer her hair at, though. This is something that's been on my mind as of late. By the way, her friend with the strange hat is named Marissa. Naturally, she still comes by every day. I learned the names of all sorts of other visitors over the years. I felt bad that it took me more than 4 years to find out Rimu's name, so I made sure to start memorizing the others as well. Whenever I come by now, the shrine is hardly ever empty. Most of the visitors are strange people, but a few of them leave donations when Rimu isn't looking. Still, for what I noticed, most of the visitors aren't ever here for the shrine. They come for Rimu. It isn't uncommon that I will see guests fly down directly towards Rimu or walk around the various religious structures as if they are nothing more than annoying physical obstacles. I'm a bit miffed by that. Isn't that kind of exceptional? Though, now that I think of it, aren't I exactly the same as them? I spent the rest of the day pondering why that was. In any case, as usual, the shrine is safe from any ill intent. May 30th, 2008. I am a failure. I had left to check on a couple other shrines besides Rimu's. This was something I did regularly, even if I spent the majority of my time here. I couldn't have always been away for more than a couple hours. And yet, when I returned, the absolute worst case scenario was waiting for me. The shrine, the one thing I spent the majority of my time protecting, was nothing more than a pile of rubble. Immediately I went into panic mode. Where's Rimu? Is she okay? Is there anybody nearby that knows the shrine was destroyed? All through my worries, a single thought pushed through all of them all. This was planned. Couldn't have been a coincidence that the shrine was destroyed in a short time frame. Is this Scarlet Rhapsody? This has to be Tenchi, right? That did it. I believe so. And all through my I already read that. Something evil was waiting for me. I wouldn't call Tenchi evil. Dim, maybe, but not evil. So that I could enact its master plan and destroy the shrine. Emotions began to well up inside of me. What would I do exactly? In the mix of my brooding, I saw the one and only thing I really needed to see. It was Rimu. Perfectly fine. She was a little more grumpy than usual, just from her expression, understandably so. Most importantly, she was okay. I was able to calm down just a bit knowing that. She was talking to someone I hadn't met before. A short while later, after more strange people appeared and began rebuilding the shrine. The most striking part of their attire was the tall, one-toothed getup most of them were wearing. That, and I guess the fact that they had wings stood out. Were these Tengu, perhaps? Rimu must be very influential to have an army of Tengu at her disposal. Not that I'm surprised, of course. From what I managed to gather from past conversations, all this was just an accent. But it was more than enough to make me wary of ever leaving the shrine completely unattended. I can't see her all the time, but at the very least, I can always keep one eye on it when I'm away. This way, nothing like this will ever happen again. Right? May 31st, 2008. The shrine was destroyed again. Rimu has already handled the situation and is being rebuilt for a second time. This time, I choose to trust Rimu. Next time, I will choose violence. I am a reborn Aeon. Wait, I have two bodies. Reborn Aeons, maybe? We are reborn. Yeah, let's go with that. Nothing will sneak past us ever again. Wait, is this... No, it can't be when... It can't be when Aeon gains consciousness. Touhou... I think Touhou 16, right? Touhou 17 is the animal people. And Touhou 18 is marketeers. It can't be made in 2009. In 8. It can't. I'm reading too into this. December 6th, 2009. Rimu is sick in bed today. I haven't been able to get much of a look from where I am. Okay, so she's still a statue. Okay, that's good confirmation. At one point, she came outside trying to shuffle snow away while looking pretty out of it. She was sneezing and wobbling. I thought she was going to fall over a couple times. Luckily, Marissa came over and forced her back inside. I'm glad she has someone she can rely on times like this. If I wasn't a statue, I would... I'm not actually sure what I would do. Could do, actually. I kept both of my bodies at the shrine just in case. I did... Oh, okay. So she's basically managed to use the Kamado magic to kind of split herself into two statues. All right, I guess that makes sense. That completely slipped my mind. And then something evil sneaky past me in demolishing the shrine while Rimu was vulnerable. Over the course of the day, several people dropped by to check on Rimu, letting me focus on keeping everyone safe. Vermillion and Sakuya came over with some bags. They always bring over fancy-looking food, so I can only hope Sakuya prepared something sensible. Ryson came by with some medicine shortly after. Alice brought some vegetables. Yomu showed up carrying a whole feast. Yuko snacked on something while following behind. They better not be using Rimu as an excuse to throw a party. With Yuko, that's probably... No, Yuko probably just wants the food. If Yuko's snacking on something, she's probably just like, nom, 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 nom. Then the other Miko. Oh no, I know who this is. I'm sorry, just the fact that Aeon, even as statue, calls Sane the other. So I don't know why I'm laughing. The other. Sorry, my boobs are getting in the way. You. I gotta stop laughing. I don't know why I'm laughing at this. I don't know why I'm laughing at something just that's not funny. I don't know. Maybe I'm out of it. Okay. Well, I don't think I could really call her a Miko. Her outfit is all wrong. Why does she wear blue and white? Everyone knows it's red and white. Yep. Was she just trying to stand out from Rimu as a competitor? I visited her shrine on the mountain a couple of times. I had to admit, their shrine wasn't bad, I guess. But our shrine definitely won't lose to them. Actually, I still have my pride as a statue. I'm now picturing Aeon just traveling to Moria, looking at the whole thing. It's like, the little one's better. Rimu's better than just leaving. And the other one probably noticing as Sawako is like, get him. While Sane is just I guess Sane is just clueless, and Kanako is trying to just wow everyone like, behold a toaster. I don't know why. Oh my god, they need. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm reading too into this. Okay. Naturally, I'm always guarding whatever shrine or temple I'm at. That goes for both the shrine on the mountain and the nearby temple that opened up recently. So UFO most has happened. Okay. My allegiance is still to the Hakare shrine. I allow the false Miko to pass this time. What are you gonna do? Just stare at her? If she was truly planning anything sinister, I would have surely noticed. Each guest that came and left were quickly replaced by another visitor. Hopefully, Marissa was making sure Rimu was able to sleep undisturbed. As for me, all I can do is stay on guard. August 6, 2012. Everyone is gathered at the shrine for a cherry blossom festival. How exciting, though lately I've been noticing that the guests of these parties are becoming more and more eccentric. If nobody else was betting an eye to a small alcoholic with giant horns... Why I gotta describe Suiko like that? Yes, she's small, and she's alcoholic. Don't diss the horns. The horns aren't that big. They're not that big. For everyone, the first time she showed up... First time, who was I to say anything? The important thing is that Rimu is enjoying herself. Even if it isn't obvious to some people... When she's happy, it's really obvious. But when she doesn't want people to know she's happy, that's when she puts on the grumpy face. She'll cross her arms and narrow her eyes like she's annoyed just to make it all the more convincing. But even then, the facade of hers breaks sometimes. Of course, when she's actually mad, she'll make that very clear. Actually, now that I think about it, Rimu could be considered blunt to a fault. Not that I would consider it a fault, of course, but if someone or something is an annoyance, she'll say so. Happiness is the only thing she hides, though she likes to mask her kindness behind reluctance. She'll look away, mention the efforts she begrudgingly made, make clear her unwillingness in doing so, and so forth. This is Rimu at her cutest. She's rather sweet when she wants to be, but gets embarrassed by the idea of people being aware of that. If I could name just one grievance I had, though, it would be her attitude towards the ordinary shrine goers. A shrine maiden should always smile and greet visitors happily. Whenever I watch her greet guests, it feels stilted. Her smile, forced. Her greeting, pitiful, awkward. It's not authentic at all. It's very clear the only thing on her mind is whether they're going to put money in her box. As someone whose entire existence revolves around shrines, the root of the problem is exceedingly clear to me. Rimu simply lacks shrine maiden power. Shrine maiden power. Shrine maiden power? I don't know why, but my mind just went to Aeon giving Rimu a magical girl makeover. Magic. Damn it. I don't know why I'm laughing at this. And I'm not talking. Okay, I'm fine. I'm not talking about the kind where she flies around and shoots people. Sure, she has the power part in abundance, but the maiden part, not so much. I hate to admit this. That fake shrine maiden from the mountain has an abundance of maiden. Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure it has nothing to do with Kanako's two big mountains of faith. Yeah, I'm sure people aren't attracted to Sune for a maiden. I have a type to me. It's scary how much of a natural she is. Rimu could stand to learn a thing or two from her. Or well, I'm willing to overlook it because Rimu has her own dashing appeal. Okay, officially, Aeon has gone off the deep end. She's lost her common sense. Sune, what did you do to her? I'm sorry for interrupting so much at this point, but it's clear that Aeon's kind of going cuckoo. Rimu has certainly changed a lot over the years. I can barely picture her training diligently in an empty shrine lot, the occasional bouts of frustration accompanied by tears, and the awkward one-sided conversations between her and Marissa. But despite everything, her heart was plainly visible on her sleeve for as much as she tried to cover it. Right now, Rimu was happy. As for me, to be honest, I was just a tiny bit jealous. Everyone was having fun, and a part of me wondered what it would be like. Of course, I shook aside those thoughts and continued my duty, though I did glance back once more towards the not-so-little shrine maiden. I'm happy for her. For you. Her little shaker lot had become so lively over the years. It wasn't like the large crowds of people I was familiar with. It felt more personal. January 1st, 2017. It's actually been quite a long time since I guarded one of these giant temples on my favorite day of the year. Lately, I've only ever spent that time here at Reimu Shrine. As for the guests, 1, Miss Marissa. Of course she shows up first. I still count them, but it's a bit different. 2, Remelia. 3, Sikuya. They always arrive very early in the morning. They come in more slowly, usually alone, or in small groups. 4, 5, 6. Looks like those fairies are plotting something for fun. Just as I got to know Rimu, I began to know every guest. 12, 13, 14. I don't recognize these people. What strange clothes. Okay, so this is... Okay. More than likely, 12, 13, 14. I'm going to take a guess, and Mr. Chronicle could probably confirm for me, because, as always, I'm probably going to leave a link to... I'm going to send him a link to this video. These three are more than likely Junko, Hecatia, and Clownpiece. That's what I'm guessing. Because who else could you describe strange clothes as? Especially since Clownpiece probably at this time. Let me. Yeah, I just checked. Touhou 15 has happened. More than likely, the Three Fairies manga happens. In fact, the fairies do show up right here. Sunny Milk, Star Sapphire, and Luna Child. Yes, and Luna Child. They show up. They live behind the shrine, meaning more than likely at this point in time, Clownpiece lives at the shrine. Don't know for sure. More than likely, Clownpiece went and grabbed Junko and Hecatia. And it's like, come play with me. Or she probably has just about to celebrate 4th of July. Well, almost every guest. 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. So even people from the temple stop today. Each year's, it feels like the number of guests only increases. Is this all because of Rimu, I wonder? 66, 67, 68. Miss Yukari snuck a donation again. Rimu never seems to notice, but you can't trick me. Every friend, old and new, every smiling face that came to visit Rimu. Each one was more valuable to me than a million strangers. November 17th, 2017. Okay, so this is, I remember this. This is Touhou 16. So more than likely, it ends, this ends with Aeon becoming Aeon, basically. Little green-haired doggo with horn, wants head pats, and is not as good as Momiji, because she doesn't Owu. We need an Owu. We need a Aeon Owu. My vision was hazy. The world was spinning. There was a strange sensation unlike anything I had ever felt before. Why was I so low to the ground? I blinked. But wait. Yep. There's single grammar right there. Should be more likely be wait, not well. Statues don't blink. They also don't get dizzy and fly over. Yet here I was on the ground. Slowly I rose to my feet. Those exist now. Looking around. This was definitely Rimu's shrine. For a moment, I simply stood there in a daze. But once my mind accepted the reality of the situation, I began running all around the shrine. I had a body. I could move. And I wasn't about to stand still. My singular perspective over the many years I spent guarding the shrine was suddenly expanding as I wandered around the shrine's lot. Most of my time was spent looking behind objects obscured from the statue's position, touching different objects, feeling their textures, and taking in their faint sense. So that's what it looks like behind the rock. The statue is a lot harder than I thought. And I didn't even know flower growing here were just a few of the things uttered during this light excursion. And of course, I was running everywhere, but there was something I wanted above all. Peering into the sky, the familiar sight filled my vision, a not so small shrine maiden floating in the air. Rimu, I could feel myself smiling, and my tail wagging in excitement. Things I could actually do now. I began running towards that flying shrine maiden. I wanted to join her up there. I wanted to meet her, to speak with her, thinking back on it. That's all I ever wanted all this time, wasn't it? My heart was pounding as I ran, hoping to pull me up in the air alongside her. And sure enough, I found myself taking flight, rising off the ground I had only recently become acquainted with. Yet, for as amazing as it was, the act of flying itself was an afterthought. Something even more amazing was in front of me. My mind raced all over all sorts of thoughts as the details of that red and white figure came into view. What would Rimu think? What would she say? What should I say? Surely the first thing she would want to hear is my report on keeping the shrine safe. Guard duty was about to become a lot more active. So that is asymmetrical rendezvous. Honestly, this was really thoughtful. I mean, I don't really have much to say because I'm not super familiar with Aeon specifically. I know she's a Kamado. I know she was a statue in front of the Hakure Shrine. But I don't know much about Aeon specifically as a character. Granted, by design, a lot of the characters are very, very vague and be able to be interpreted in many different ways. By design, I get that. But I don't know much about Aeon specifically. Mainly because all I know is she's just a doggo. A doggo who deserves pets. But even not knowing who Aeon is, this was very, very well written. Like, for your first, it says it right here at the bottom. First published fan work. Besides this one grammar error right here, it's immaculately well written. And all you have to do is like just change it from well to wait. That's it. It's immaculately well written. You feel for Aeon as she slowly starts to get attached to not only Rimu, but the world, but the shrine in general. Her changing behavior as story, she slowly starts to lose her common sense, quote unquote. And even she shows some of the the klutziness, like, oh, she's sensing evil. Like, I'm supposed to protect the shrines from yokai passing by, but since she doesn't sense any ill intent from them, she doesn't really know that they're yokai until much, much later. And by the time she more likely, what's inferred to when she finally realizes the truth, she's like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Probably the one that still probably stumps her is Suika, because come on, it's Suika. She stumps everyone. No one knows the inner machinations of the mind of one Suika Ibuki. For all we know, she could be plotting Rimu's very demise by taking her donation box. The world may never know. But Yeah, I can't. This is a 5 out of 5. It's written in a first person diary perspective, and while I'm not a fan of that, I gave high marks when doing Being Mei Ling, and that was not. And granted, I had some bias towards that because Mei Ling is like my favorite Touhou character, but I still have to give credit where credit is due. This this is a great story. I have nothing bad to say to to for anything except for this. But good on you. I say Chronicles. If you watch this video, don't know if you will. Continue on. You're clearly very talented at this skill set. Keep going on. Maybe I don't know. Maybe make like a second chapter where I don't know. You do like a description of the Aeon bus fight. Like maybe instead of like an actual Denmaku fight, Aeon just wants to give Rimu a hug, and Rimu's like completely confused. You can do something like that. Maybe have Aeon interact with all the other characters. More than likely, she would have to interact with Marissa. Depending on where you place it, you probably have to interact with Shion, Shinmimaru, Clown Piece, and the Three Fairies. Definitely, probably. Who else? Marissa, yeah, Marissa definitely. Maybe Romelia is like, what? Who is this? Who are you? Sakuya, who is this? She wants head pats, mistress. Okay. um, Maybe do something funny like Aeon just slapping Sane. It's like, or maybe no, that's a neat idea. Have a story where you have an Aeon go to the Moria Shrine and basically teach Sane about uniform etiquette. It's like that's not how a shrine maiden should dress, and she's just completely confused. Like who? What? Huh? I don't know. There's tons of ways you can do this. Maybe I don't know. I mean, since what else? Where else can you take this besides this Aeon getting used to just traveling across Jinsokia, just trying to figure out, just appreciating all the senses beside and annoying Sine. But yeah, keep up the good work. I honestly hope you publish more works because you're really talented at this. That's all I really have to say about this story. This has been Dark Symphony 777, and cut.